Look at you.
No, I want to be clear. I do not respect the SEC. I do not respect them.
But you're abiding by the settlement, aren't you?
Because I respect the justice system.
And this, guys, is by far one of the most important quotes from Elon Musk, specifically if you're interested in the Ripple v. SEC lawsuit and things akin. One of the things I'm about to show you guys is a little food for thought about the Ripple v. SEC lawsuit. We know it's been going on for a very long time, and the XP prices kept on falling, right now at the 8th spot in the rankings. But if you're like me, you update yourself on the crypto news, you'll probably know as well as I do. There's a very good chance that Ripple's eventually going to win this, but even if they don't, they at least have had the hardest and fought the toughest battle. Having said that, there's some interesting light that's been spread on the Ripple v. SEC case last couple of weeks, partially regarding Fox's coverage, of course, and John Deaton trying to get over on Joe Rogan and whatnot, but also partially from people that matter. And this, I think, comes mostly because people are starting to see XRP's case being a threat to Ethereum, and I think that partially came again from a result that came in the Ripple v. SEC lawsuit lately, where the Ripple side was given access to some information regarding the Ethereum free pass a couple years ago, and what that referred to was there was an individual at the SEC, William Hinman, who basically spoke out and gave some quote-unquote crypto regulations, people thought. It turned out that was just his own opinion though, yet the market took it as clarity, and so right now we're in a little bit of a predicament about what the status of ETH is, and there's a little debate about that. But one of the other things I think was interesting, which kind of came out of all of that, is this right here. Ripple and XRP Army giving the SEC hardest time in court ever. U.S. Blockchain Association head of policy. Now guys, if you're enjoying these daily crypto videos, make sure you press that subscribe button, but more importantly, make sure you have the notification bell on. You and I don't know when the lawsuit is going to all of a sudden settle. But what if it does, and you're not notified when I go live? Because wherever I am, I'm going to go live on my phone. It doesn't matter whatever I go live on, right? But you all must get that notification, so make sure you have the notification bell on for when in case it happens. You can always decide to ignore my videos, but at least be there or be squared for when something crazy goes down. That's the most important thing, if you ask me. Having said that, I also want you guys to comment down below if you're still holding XRP. I personally am. I've seen a couple of people being skeptic because it takes so long. But, all right, just put it down below. According to a top person in the U.S. Blockchain Association, Ripple is fighting with the SEC to the death, unlike those who chose a safe deal, including Elon Musk. So when checking out through this a little bit, one of the most interesting parts that comes up is how Ripple really doesn't hold back. What do we mean? Well, take a look at this. Jake Chervinsky, a lawyer, but not yours, head of policy at the Blockchain Association, who's also been getting into a little bit of fire, advisor at Variant Fund, tweets are my own, not legal or financial advice. He said, no matter your view on Ripple, two things seem clear. One, they're giving the SEC more trouble than anyone in crypto. Maybe more than anyone, period, including even Elon Musk. And two, they're the leading dispute on security laws. If only because they'll fight to the death, unlike those who caved and settled. So what's going on right now? Well, as XP Crypto Wolf rightfully so stated, Ripple and XP Army are giving the SEC the hardest fight of their careers, but why, and why is it important, and why is that a piece of news I want to cover right now? Well, you've most likely seen multiple different people like Elon Musk be sued before. We've covered it multiple times over on the channel, that they've been at least in some sort of trouble with the SEC for some sort of statements or some sort of thing. Now, what you might not know is that the majority of people actually come to a pretty simple or easy settlement. And what Elon Musk said, which was at the start of the video, but I didn't show that just now, was that he basically was joking of saying, I'm considering taking Tesla private at $420, funding secured. It was a little joke, but of course that was false, misleading, and kind of shook the Tesla price a little bit. Officially, it's not completely false or misleading, because he can, theoretically speaking, consider something like that, right? Even though it might not even be possible, you can still consider it. So I'm not exactly sure why that would ultimately officially be false. However, we've also seen Coinbase get sued and kind of fall under pressure of what did they do? Well, they wanted to go for a lending product like has been done on Ethereum countless times, but they kind of caved in of saying, you know what, if the SEC is going to subpoena us and get into all our business, let's just not do it. All the while, Ripple could have most likely, which they've actually stated in some of their reports before, right? I checked back today on Ripple's 21st of December, I believe, speech to their employees, where they basically said that Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson already got the offer to settle with the SEC right now outside of court, but they denied it and wanted to fight this one out because they're so right that they would win. Now, what we're seeing right here is kind of that battle being, I guess, taken a little bit further because Coinbase fell under pressure. Elon Musk and all those guys, they kind of fell under pressure from a certain perspective, and nobody's willing to take the battle on. Remember this, guys. The reason the Ripple versus SEC fight is so important is because right now there's absolutely no good regulatory framework in the US for crypto. Bitcoin, by some parties, is considered fine, by others, it's not. Ethereum for the same cause, right? Many companies, they say, oh, you know what? We're listing Bitcoin and ETH because those are fine, and Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin. Well, not officially. No rule states that they are. And we thought that Ethereum was fine, but right now, because of the William Himmon debate, it turns out that's not officially the case. And as we've seen right now in this law, so we also know that no determination has ever been made on Bitcoin and ETH, meaning, well, they can eventually come out and actually be securities, even though it doesn't make sense for Bitcoin, in my own opinion. It can be that Gary Gensler's vision is something along those lines. And why that could be the case, well, we've kind of proven that Gary Gensler really likes the settlement, as he's been shouting out over on Twitter. That, again, is just our speculation, right? It's not a fact. But it's been victory after victory for Ripple's side. We can actually not officially say that because it just depends on your perspective, but let's just put it here. Things are looking good for Ripple in the case right now. But more importantly, it doesn't matter if it looks good or bad. At least they're fighting the battle, which no other company has done before. It is one of the strangest cases anyway. We've talked before about how it's really strange for a CEO and co-founder, I guess, or chairman of the board. I'm not exactly sure what his official status is for Chris Larson. For those guys to be sued alongside the companies the first time in crypto. But another thing that BC Backer pointed out is that, for example, for Bitcoin, it took 157 weeks to go from its December all-time high to its new all-time high. After 157 weeks, we then saw the weekly close of an all-time high set for Bitcoin. And then, all of a sudden, the day after that happened, XRP all of a sudden was a security, the SEC claimed. Very interesting. And Nick Bogolinger said, as I've said before, regardless of your personal opinion on this case, which I don't know and frankly don't need to know, I've always appreciated your willingness to explain things and your ability to look at things dispassionately. Thanks, Jake. Because let's see it here, he's done that a couple of times before, most likely. January, about a year ago, I guess exactly 1 year ago, he said as well, XP Army has become unbearable since the SEC action. Unbearable. I've always tried to explain the issues fairly. I've answered more questions than I can count. I've never even said I think XP is a security. UN trolls, I'm sick of wasting time trying to help. I'm out. Good luck. And he said, your comment and insights on the topic in the space has been extremely interesting, and I've learned a lot from you. I've always found you to be objective and able to elucidate complex legal topics. I'm sorry that you felt the need to take this step. Because what's been happening, guys, is a lot of XRP community members are really going hard at it. And for anybody taking out a word against XRP, they're going, FUD, hate, FUD. And even in my comment section, the majority of you guys probably know, I'm one of the biggest XRP bulls there is out there. It's like, what? Yeah, people call me a FUDster. People call me a negative Nancy or whatever. And I think it's always funny how there's such like grouping or so. When I check out some guys and what they say, I'm not exactly sure which people actually that I can quote right now, but quite a lot of people with authority in this space also say that one of the things that can't take crypto down is like the grouping. I'm not sure exactly what the name for it is in English, and again, but basically what it is, it's the maximalism, right? Where it's XRP or nothing, or it's ETH or nothing, and every other one is bad, because that's what we're seeing quite a lot. And that's one thing that's, I think, also becoming a really bigger issue in the Ripple XRP versus SEC lawsuit is partially that a lot of ETH maxis, for example, are like, yeah, get that garbage XRP thing out there, when in reality, ETH is not really safe and can kind of get to the same fate eventually as well. So it's kind of dumb to not root for each other, because if XRP loses, the majority of other altcoins are going to go down with the freaking ship. XLM is just next, ADA is most likely next, and so forth and so on. It's going to just crumble like a piece of crumbled apple pie. And even ETH could be next because there's nothing keeping them afloat. And tribalism is what they call it, I believe. And that's actually a couple of important things to also kind of consider, right? I've just been thinking about that. So how does a wrapped deal come in? What we talked about earlier today. Well, the most important part about the wrapped thing is because one of the basic battles that Ripple has been fighting is how can we prove that we are not really the backbone of the XP price movement? One thing is that they can show the correlation to Bitcoin, which is ridiculously high. But more importantly, I think right now is showing all the use cases that don't rely on Ripple and would never have to. And one of the things being right now that XRP can be used in the Ethereum ecosystem, kind of punny, because, well, Ethereum and XRP communities are kind of against each other very often. So it's kind of funny that XRP right now has been integrated on there. Point being, it can actually operate in a DeFi ecosystem without the need for Ripple to be there whatsoever. And that kind of contradicts the SEC's entire point. And that also does again show, I think, the lack of proper regulatory oversight, rules, or whatever you want to call it right there, because they've never written a protocol for some sort of derivative in this measure, because it could have never really been done before by a non-regulated authority. In this sense here, right, there's right now a new infrastructure bill coming up in the US, which will go into effect in 2024, I believe, which changes the definition of broker. I think a lot of things might really come out bad of that, but one of the things which also might come out as being a broker is anything that has to do with these oracles or so, because, well, this derivative, the wrapped XRP, in some way, shape, or form is going to be used by some operators in a sort of ecosystem, and those guys are going to be brokers. But then they are, I guess, under the same rules as Coinbase, right? For being brokers, they need the KYC and whatnot. But I guess then if XRP turns out to be a security, but they have the wrapped XRP, and that's not taken away because, well, it's the free world, then those guys who are handling the wrapped XRP, not even the XP itself, will also get in trouble again in the US, right? That's, I guess, the rules that are going to come out of there, kind of. Right, that's what I've been thinking about here. Like, the wrap thing is going to set a new battle from a different line, which Ripple can pull, which is like, well, take a look. If we step away today, XP is going to thrive and survive and do well. They don't need us at all. Maybe the price will do bad because we're the backbone of it in some degree, because we have a very large part in it. It's the same thing as saying, what if Satoshi stepped in right now, right? Bitcoin will most likely crash because people would get scared of a person holding that much. But it's not the only thing there, and it will most likely not go to zero. For I guess the sense that it has different use cases and can survive without Ripple doing anything. And I've just been kind of thinking about all that, about how the battle can be, I guess, won, how they didn't take the plea deal just quite yet. They didn't settle, even though they could have most likely done that a long time ago. Ripple also reiterated again, the only way in which they would settle is when the stakes are that XRP from that point forward is not any longer a security at any point or another. And I guess that's the most important point, right? That XP is not a security at all from that point forward. If they have to pay a fine, who really cares about that? That's fine. But I think Ripple's facing a really, really important battle, and many other crypto communities are not acknowledging that, which I think is kind of sad. Regarding the huge transfers of XRP, very often it's actually Ripple, which I guess is kind of like a negative method or negative way. But it also makes me wonder, how can Ripple still move so many millions of XP and actually still sell them? They keep saying, yeah, it's in different countries where the SEC has no oversight, but is Ripple the US company who gets the XRP and then sends it away? How could that actually happen, right? Because if these guys are being charged for doing something wrong and handling illegal securities, shouldn't everything that they're doing right now still add up to the lawsuit? It's just a question I have for you all that I should have asked John Dean when I was able to talk to him, but maybe that's something I will ask in a new interview soon if I get to talk to one of those guys again, like Jeremy Hogan or so. Because I've been thinking about that for a long time, but it doesn't make sense to me. If you've been sued for selling unregistered securities and making money off of that, there's a point being made, 1.4 billion, and all of a sudden you keep doing that, but that's all fine. How does that work? It's making me think as well. I think the battle just started. It's going to get way bigger, and a lot of these guys are starting to notice it. The Ethereum community will eventually, I think, come to terms and say, well, let's fight on Ripple's side. Right now, almost no other crypto projects are really on their side. I believe ADA has sometimes said it's really important and so forth and so on because they notice. But even XLM, which I think is kind of strange, has never really stood by and showed some solidarity of sorts, which I think is kind of strange. But yeah, there's just so much strange stuff going on with this. I wanted to quickly share that because of his insights. Because, even people that are essentially quite biased because they're usually, right, these institutions are usually kind of against XRP and against dipping their toes into the unknown. Even they can think about it quite logically of saying, well, and that's exactly what we saw right now. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm pretty satisfied. So yeah, really important. SEC not doing their job properly because they don't have proper rules. They're not really looking to make those rules, though, even though they, of course, can't do it themselves officially. They have to go through another body to do that. But they're not really trying, which I think is sad. But I guess all these different things, like the wrapped, for example, show that these rules are just not clear enough to regulate these types of things. They need to make some new ones. which sometimes we think are happening, but they're like in such a slow fashion. Like the rules that are being made right now are about brokers and about stable coins and CBDCs, but the whole crypto chapter, for some reason, they're not doing it just quite yet, which I think is strange. But right now, it's still the Wild West. I guess more money is to be made, and it's, I guess, fun while it still lasts. Let's see what the next step is going to be.